is a severe weather update from the First Coast's most accurate weather team, certified by Weather Rate.
Good evening, folks. I'm meteorologist Ross Mumal here with First Coast News. National Hurricane Center and our team of meteorologists here are continuing to monitor this area for possible tropical development here over the next 7 days. Now, the good news is still has a very low chance of formation, only a 20% chance over the next 7 days, especially by the time we get to the end of the week and as we head into your 4th of July holiday weekend here across the First Coast. And this is all from a cold front that's going to slide in from the north and will eventually stall out either right over the First Coast or just south of there, acting as a focal point for a potential low pressure system to try to develop along. So we're going to continue to monitor this very closely over the next couple of days. We'll have more information here on First Coast News and always streaming on First Coast News Plus.
Stay with the First Coast's most accurate weather team. Stay safe and informed. Download the First Coast News app now. First Coast News, on your side.
Good evening and welcome in, folks. I'm meteorologist Ross Mumal here. It has been yet again another very stormy day across the First Coast, a trend that is expected to continue through most of this week, potentially into your 4th of July on Friday, and maybe even into the holiday weekend, which is a big deal if you've got outdoor plans. Are you making it a boat day, a beach day, or maybe you're just grilling out with your friends and family in your back porch or your backyard? Either way, whether it storms or not is going to be very impactful and important, likely to you, your family, and the plans you might have. So as I said, up and down I-95 today, we had plenty of storms. Now all of those are actually moving well off to the west and northwest. A few lingering showers out towards the northern part of the Swanee and up toward the Okefenokee. So portions of Ware and Pierce County still seeing at least a little bit of some rain, but the vast majority of the thunderstorm activity now continuing much further off to the west, out towards southwestern Georgia and into eastern Alabama. But as I had said, over the next couple of days, we're increasing our rain and thunderstorm chances. Tomorrow might actually be the driest day all week. Isolated and scattered thunderstorms by the afternoon, but you'll really notice by Wednesday a big uptick in not only the storm coverage, but potential intensity. We could see some strong to severe storms there on Wednesday. And then Thursday, your 4th of July on Friday, and possibly into the weekend. Still, some soggy, rainy, stormy weather going to be on the way. So because of that, we have issued weather impact alerts for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, particularly in the afternoon and evenings. The weather impact alert runs for the entirety of all 3 days, but your best chance to see some of the more widespread and stronger thunderstorms will be during that peak of daytime heating. So after 2 o'clock through the late afternoon and into the evening hours. So numerous to, if not widespread, thunderstorms. And because of some of the rain that we have seen not only today, but over this past weekend, localized flooding going to continue to be a concern. Just this afternoon, there was some flooding yet again in the San Marco area over by Baptist Health Hospital. Last night, there were a lot of folks in the San Marco neighborhoods and communities who were yet again dealing with flooding in the streets, getting into some of their vehicles and cars. So we're just going to continue to pile on more and more rainfall, possibly here on the First Coast. So because of that, localized flooding going to be top of mind and a top concern here over the next couple of days, along with just the lightning and some gusty winds associated with some of those stronger thunderstorms. So tomorrow, isolated to scattered storms, as I said, potentially our driest day of the week. Most of the storm activity is going to be up and down that I-95 corridor here. Thankfully, or mainly because we have more of a southwesterly flow, not only at the surface, but also aloft in the atmosphere. So most of the storms will collide along that sea breeze collision. So Atlantic sea breeze, Gulf Coast sea breeze right along the Jacksonville metro area and 95 corridor here. And then those will eventually just kind of work their way off to the east and northeast after sunset tomorrow night and a dry overnight period then into, Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning. But then here it is. Low area of formation over the next 7 days. Just a 20% chance. It includes the eastern Gulf, all of Tampa, all the way up to, or including Orlando, and then up to northeast Florida, and then extends off to the east and northeast, just off our coast and up toward the Gulf Stream. And this is all going to be due to a cold front that is sliding in from the north. We'll often get situations and setups like this during this time of the year. Late June, first few weeks of July, we'll get these decaying fronts from the north. They eventually reach the northern Gulf Coast and or the northern part of Florida here. They pretty much just die and stall out, but there's still a lingering boundary set up right here. So because of that, winds on the southern side of it coming up out of the south and southwest, winds on the northern extent of the front, out of the north and northeast, and you begin to get a little bit of some cyclonic rotation, that counterclockwise rotation there. And this model, you can see the front kings a little bit and a potential low pressure system trying to form. We really do want to emphasize it is the potential for it. It is not a sure thing that anything tropical does develop. At the very least, we're really just expecting, you know, a pretty heavy rainmaker here for a large portion of the first coast, more so for inland locations and out towards the Gulf Coast. So this is from now through Sunday night. Take note, most places around the Jacksonville metro up to Brunswick and down into St. Augustine going to be seeing anywhere from 1 to 2 inches with 3 inches locally in some spots. Obviously, in Florida during the summer, I mean, you can pick up 1 to 2 inches in just one single thunderstorm, but over a larger area, it averages out to about 1 to 3 inches. But you'll take note, further off to the southwest and closer to the Gulf Coast, you're looking closer to about 2 to 4 inches of rain, potentially seeing some localized spots upwards of 5 to even 6 inches of rain, pretty much from Cedar Key down to the north sides of Tampa. So St. Petersburg and areas along the eastern Gulf Coast could see some higher rain totals. So here is really another way to look at it, and I think could also dictate just how much rain and storms we actually do see here and how they might impact your 4th of July plans. So cold front situated right here, drier, slightly cooler air behind it. It really just pulls in a ton of moisture ahead of it. So we get southwesterly flow ahead of that front, pulling all that warm, moist air out of the Gulf, and then coming down from the north, another wave of moisture. Those two collide on Wednesday afternoon and evening, pretty much smack dab right over the first coast. So because of that, we're expecting a large enhancement of thunderstorms, nearly 80% of us seeing rainfall at some point throughout the day on Wednesday. And then you'll take note, where does the dry air go? This is the GFS American model here. Generally keeps the drier air a little bit further off to the west. And as we play it forward, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you almost see that spin back around. So that counterclockwise spin retrograding back off to the west right along that northern Gulf Coast. That is going to keep the rain chances locked in over us a little bit longer. That is not what I want to happen, and I'm sure most of you also don't want to either. Here's another solution to the potential problem that we have here with regards to any sort of tropical development. Right here is the front. This is showing a lot of just energy within the atmosphere along that front. It slides southward by Thursday night, Friday morning, kind of breaks up, but it's stalling out right over the I-4 corridor in central Florida. As we continue it here, Friday into Saturday, then into Sunday, you notice this brings a lot more of the energy in the circulation actually further off to our east. So it's almost due east from Duval County, but it's keeping most of the energy over here. If this is the case, and this is what happens, it could actually strengthen into a tropical depression, potentially over the Gulf Stream where you have much warmer waters, but over to where we are, much drier air is likely going to be brought in. That would lessen our rain chances for the 4th of July and especially by the back half of this weekend. Now, we've also talked about Saharan dust the last several days. Could that impact it? Probably not. Might limit some of the rain chances down across South Florida and the Florida Keys, but that front's going to pretty much just keep all the Saharan dust and drier air from that shoved and situated down a little bit further southward. So really, that's not going to have much of an impact on any sort of storm inhibitions here on the first coast. Now, one other important thing to keep in mind, this is showing a little bit of that cyclonic circulation there, right? So it's spinning around right off the coast of the Space Coast in Orlando. That is going to lock us into a northeast wind starting likely on Friday, but then continuing through Saturday and Sunday. If that is the case, we could get a persistent northeast wind. More than likely isn't going to be incredibly gusty, but it might be enough to maybe just raise the St. Johns River level by maybe a foot. It can sometimes back up the St. Johns River, almost act like a plug where it meets the ocean, and it won't allow all the water to come in. If you put on an extra 1 to 3 inches of fresh water rain on top of that, might see some minor localized flooding in some of our, coastal areas, the intercoastal and along the St. Johns River Basin. So we're not majorly concerned about that right now, but it is a possibility as we head toward really the end of the weekend. So main things we really want to stress here is, one, tomorrow likely going to be the driest day. Then you get on to Wednesday, you have outdoor plans, have a backup plan in place. We're expecting widespread rain and thunderstorms on Wednesday, likely into Thursday, and then we will have to watch for Friday and into the weekend. We currently have a weather impact alert for all 3 of these days, but depending on, 1, if a system develops along that stalled boundary, and 2, if it develops, where does it go? If it tracks more to our east and moves away from us, likely some drier weather for Friday and the holiday weekend. If it kind of stays put and/or slides back to the west a little bit, it's going to lock us in much more so to the moisture, not only at the surface, but in the mid-levels, leading to a lot more rainfall for many of us here on the First Coast. So kind of a tale of 2 halves here on what could happen, but just be mindful if you have outdoor plans for the holiday weekend, have some backup plans, indoor plans in case we do get some strong to severe thunderstorms. Localized flooding and heavy rainfall really going to be the biggest concerns here over the next couple of days. Then for your Saturday and your Sunday, as I said, we talked about the winds coming in out of the east and northeast a little bit. Again, we'll have to watch to see whether that does impact our intercoastals or the St. Johns River Basin, but it does look like by the end of the weekend, so potentially by Sunday, but definitely by early next week. Monday, rain chances, they're going to start to go down a little bit, and our overall tropical threat, at least from this possible system, will begin to subside. So for one last time here, only a low 20% chance of formation over the next 7 days. That front will move in on Wednesday. That'll increase our rain chances initially. We'll watch for that actual development if it occurs on Thursday and Friday. Still likely seeing those scattered to, if not widespread thunderstorms both of those days. And then as you head into the holiday weekend here, we will see, does it track a little bit further eastward, dropping our rain and thunderstorm chances, actually leaving us with potentially a pretty nice holiday weekend, especially by Sunday? Or does it move back over the First Coast and move off to our west, pretty much straight out the I-10 corridor along the northern Gulf Coast? If that is the case, it brings us a lot more rainfall, but it does not